What's up, everybody? It's your host, Zach. This is my brother, Jake. Welcome back to the It's Too Easy podcast. Today, we're going to be breaking down our expectations and kind of going through what we saw this offseason and what we expect in the coming season for the NBA. Um, Obviously, it's going to be the year of 23-24. So I got my man Kobe up here because it's his year. And with that, I think comes a great NBA script that the writers have been working on. And I think I got it dialed down. So I'll let you guys know what I'm thinking about it. Jake, what are we thinking about some of those offseason moves that happened this year?
Yeah, quite a few offseason moves that happened that caught our eye. First one I want to talk about a little bit is Drew Holiday and that Damian Lillard move. Drew Holiday is settling in with the Celtics. I think that's a great spot for him. I think that adds a lot of defensive pressure for that team. And I think that the Celtics are just going to be one of those teams that now are going to be able to put it together on the defensive end. And with that, they'll be able to have a good season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the Drew is a big move. Obviously, Dame going to the Bucks is what everyone's going to be talking about because you have two 30-point per game scorers. Dame, obviously, clutch time. Giannis, the defense, and you still have Chris Middleton. Didn't have to move that, as well as the Bucks are trying to keep Giannis. So I think that's their sign of trying to be committed to showing that they want to win a championship to try and get him to stay and to re-sign next offseason. I do think with that, it was a mistake because Drew could have gone anywhere. I think it would have been good for them, except for the Celtics. Celtics obviously got Porzingis already in the offseason. They lost Marcus Smart to the Grizz, but now Drew fits in well with that Celtics team. I think it's another guy come playoff time outside of Tatum that they can trust the ball to be in his hands, as well as the incredible defense that Drew Holiday brings. I do expect to see the Celtics making a run at it this year and probably ending up knocking off the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, it could end up being what happens, and that's going to be a struggle for Bucks fans getting rid of Drew, and then he's going to end up probably taking it from them with the Celtics. But it's a good spot for him. I think that he's going to really enjoy and fit in with that team. So I
Mhm.
look forward to seeing how the Celtics perform this year. In that Lillard trade, the Blazers got DeAndre Ayton. Drew Holiday ended up going to the Celtics. He got waived. But the Blazers also got a 2029 first round pick and two first round pick swaps from the Bucks. So that is a lot for the Blazers. So I do look for kind of how they're going to be able to rebuild going forward. They are a pretty young team, but I do think that that's a pretty solid trade for them because they were going to have to get rid of Dame one way or another.
hmm And then they also got Rob Williams from the Celtics in that part of a package with Drew Holiday. So it's going to be interesting how they play that with Aiton and Rolo, and then obviously having Jeremy Grant, Anthony, Scoot, drafted Chris Murray. They got a fun young team over there in Portland, so it'll be interesting to see how they do this year.
Yeah, and then the Suns in that got Nurkic from the Blazers, Little from the Blazers, Keon Johnson from the Blazers,
Mhm.
and Grayson Allen from the Bucks. So I mean,
Yeah,
and with Bradley Beal having signed earlier in the year, I mean that's looking like a pretty loaded team over there in Phoenix too.
Yeah, and they needed that. Last year, I wasn't high on the Suns from the time they, made the trade for KD because they got rid of all their depth and defense, which is how you really win championships in this day and age with how deep the NBA really is talent wise. Adding that depth, I think, is really important. I do think the Suns are still lacking enough defense, but if their offensive scoring power is as good as it needs to be, they might not need the defense. So we'll
Yeah.
see how that works out for them. But yeah, the Suns made some good moves as well this offseason.
Yep. A couple others that we wanted to talk about before we talk about picks. The Hawks picked up Patty Mills. He's kind of been bouncing around, but it looks like he may end up in Atlanta, which I think it'll be interesting to kind of see how the dynamic between him and Trey Young is. Just because I think that there could be a pretty good duo, for a second string to have on that court with Patty Mills, and there could be moments where he could be on the court with Trey because both of them can shoot the ball. So I think that's interesting to look out for him on the Atlanta Hawks. Dylan Brooks obviously got signed by the Rockets, and then
With Van Vliet.
yes, with Fred Van Vliet, that's a pretty big pickup for them. Looking for the Rockets to have a little bit better season. I still think they're a pretty young team, so they're going to have some growing pains, but we'll see how that goes. Obi Toppin was dealt to the Pacers for two second round picks. So
I
Pacers.
love that for the Pacers. Yep.
Yeah, they're looking. Their big guys are pretty athletic. So I think that the Pacers could have a pretty solid season. And then Chris Paul, of course, got traded to the Warriors. That's
Yeah.
huge for the Warriors. Gives them a little bit more depth at the point guard position. Obviously, losing Jordan Poole had a little fallout there, but they're looking to get back on track in winning ways with that team. So
Yeah.
other than that, Chris Duarte, Kings did pick up him. That's huge for us. I think that he adds a lot of defensive depth for us because Sasha adds a lot of offensive firepower. I don't know how much defensive, defensive ability Sasha adds because I don't know what it was like in Europe, how the defense is played. The NBA is going to be a whole different level, so we'll see how that goes. But adding Chris Duarte is definitely going to be good for the defensive part of the Kings team because that was the one area that they were really lacking last year. So hopefully they can put it together.
Yeah, I like that move for them. And then obviously Keegan just had a great rookie season, and he should just continue to get better. So I'm looking for him to have a good year and maybe break out even more than he was able to last year.
Yeah, I've heard that he's been playing a ton of one-on-one versus Fox in the offseason, and I'm sure that's really good for him and Fox because Keegan's got a lot of energy and it's keeping Fox on his toes as well. But kind of transitioning to our picks, we can kind of start with the East. Um, let's talk about the Magic, Heat, Hawks, Hornets, and Wizards. Obviously, the Heat have kind of been running that division for a little bit, but this year it feels like a little bit of a change of pace. Talk a little bit about your picks and how you got to your conclusion.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be a very fun division this year for basketball. The Hornets kind of suck, and I don't expect too much out of them again this year. New ownership and whatnot. But I do like the Magic. I think they're on the come up, and I think Markel Fultz is going to be one of those guys in the Most Improved Player awards this year. If not winning it, he's definitely going to have another breakout year as long as he can stay healthy. He looked great at the end of last year. I think Paolo's going to be even better as well. And then obviously Wendell Carter, the Wagners, Suggs. I mean, the team's very deep. And I hope that if Harden gets moved, if PG possibly gets moved, if he goes to the Clippers, I'm hoping that PG ends up with the Magic, which I think would be another big boost for them. But with how the Hawks play, they sat around 500 last year. I think they actually were 41 and 41.
Yeah.
And then they got rid of John Collins, which I think he's a great player, but obviously they had beef with him for a couple years. And then the Heat went in as an 8 seed and took it to the finals. I don't think they really care about positions come ranking wise. And they, again, I think were 44 and 38, so not too far above 500. I think the Magic were 34 and 48 last year. And so they're only 10 games back in the division. And I think for the value that you're getting out of it, it's between 7 and 8 to 1, depending on what sites you use to have Magic to win the division. And I am going to be taking that. I do like the Magic to win the division this year. I think they're going to make the playoffs. And I don't think they'll make it far in the playoffs, but I do think they'll make the playoffs, which is going to be a good boost and a good level for the direction that the Magic are heading in. Um, the
Yeah,
Hawks
and
and
with
Heat will be
yeah,
right
with the
there,
Magic
but
picking up Paolo and Carroll last year, he performed pretty well last season, got them a lot more wins than I was expecting. So I do think that that's a solid sleeper pick for that division because Magic are pretty young, but they've definitely got a lot of team camaraderie and chemistry. So I think that team could be really good if Markel Fultz does indeed have a really good year.
Yeah,
So.
and then also the Heat lost a couple important players. Obviously, Gabe Vincent went to the Lakers. Struess
Mhm.
went and signed with the Cavs, and I know it's the Heat culture, so they'll find a way to make something work. And Jaime Jaquez just got signed from UCLA in the draft, and he's a dog, so we'll see
Yeah.
what kind of moves they make. I know they got Thomas Bryant as well, who was a stud for the Lakers when he got a chance to play. Then I think he went to the Nuggets, didn't do much off the bench coming there. But I think that's a good ad for the Heat as well. I do
Yeah,
expect the division to be
absolutely.
close. I think the Heat, Magic, Hawks are all probably within three games of each other. But I am going to take, just with the odds being 7 or 8 to 1, I like the Magic to go out and win that division.
Right on. Yeah, I think that it's very possible that the Magic can clutch that one up. The next division in the East, we got Celtics, 76ers, Knicks, Nets, and Raptors. That's quite the
Mhm.
division. Obviously, Celtics and Sixers are two teams that everybody's always talking about. But the Knicks, they had a crazy good season last season, and I'm sure they're looking to replicate that and maybe get a little bit more playoff success this year.
Yeah, I like the division. I have the Celtics winning it. I think the Sixers are just going to be in an interesting year. Should still be able to get a lot of wins. I think Maxi's a dog, so I hope that he gets the chance to take over kind of for the team and beat as long as he's there. I feel like he might get traded midseason, but as long as he's there, they'll be winning games if he's healthy. And the whole thing with Harden is, I think, kind of the downfall for the team is he needs to get out of there. But because of the way he's going about it, I don't think they can get that much value for him. Obviously, they have Tobias on a $40 million a year contract, and he's a bucket, but he's not really a star player anymore. So I think the Celtics will top the Sixers. Sixers are still good enough where if the team kind of stays together with Embiid, they should still be second in that division. If they do end up trading him, I could see the Knicks overriding them and the Knicks pulling off second in the division. The Celtics have too much firepower, good defense. Missoula's kind of he's got a little bit of experience now being the head coach that I think he should get a little bit better. But I do like the Knicks this year, and I also find that team to be very interesting because they have the potential, I think, to go out and make a trade for Joel Embiid or someone of that caliber to try and make a run for it in the playoffs. So I'm interested to see what happens there.
Yeah, and I mean, we obviously talked a little bit about the Celtics with that trade and having the defensive prowess now. Obviously, they were a good defensive team before, but they're just going to be adding to it now. 76ers with that turmoil, it's going to be interesting to kind of see if James Harden even is going to go back to that team, and if he does, how it's going to work, because Embiid's obviously going to probably have MVP level numbers again. And if Maxi takes over, then there's not going to be much room for Harden in there. And where is he going to go is the question. But yeah, I really like the Knicks are a sleeper team. They're on the come up, pretty young team. New York's happy that they're on the up and up. But yeah, Nets and Raptors think they'll probably struggle a little bit.
I think they'll both fall off a little bit, yeah, because
Yeah,
the Nets, even, I mean, they had such a good record to start, and then after the trades, obviously Bridges is good, Johnson's pretty
yeah.
good. I expect Bridges to have a solid year, maybe 25 points per game now that he's going to be the main scorer. Uh, but I don't think the team is that good, so I don't expect them to win too much this year. Same as
Bridges
for the
is one of
Raptors.
those. Yeah, Bridges is one of those players though that they need to get him paid in there for a long time, because he when once he got traded, he was just really solid for that team, and you
Hmm.
could kind of see like when he doesn't have the people around him, you can kind of see him come to life. And then in the USA basketball in the offseason over the summer, he looked pretty good there too. So I could see
Hmm.
Bridges again coming alive, having a good season. The next division is the Bucks, Cavs, Pacers, Bulls, and Pistons.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, the Bucks had a huge pickup with Dame. Cavs still have a pretty solid team with Donovan Mitchell. The boys down low, Evan, what's his last name?
Mobley.
Mobley. Yep, pick up from the SC, and then obviously they're stacked with Garland and a couple other big time players, but that's going to be a crazy good division. The Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton just picked up what's his
Obi
name that we were talking
Toppin.
about, Opie Toppin, and then they have the big guys around it. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to have the shooting, but they definitely have a solid squad. So, what do you think about that division?
Yeah, I think that's a fun one. I'll start from the bottom. I feel like the Pistons could be the bottom, but I'm starting to lean towards the Bulls. I think this is finally the year that the Bulls blow it up because they looked good with Lonzo, and he's going to be out yet again all year. And I hope he gets healthy because he looked phenomenal before he went down. But Zach Levine, DeRozan, Vucevic, I feel like they just don't know what direction they're heading, and so I think it's finally the point where they blow it up and they end up getting either fourth or fifth in the division. I could see them being last after the trade deadline if they trade away pieces and fall apart. The Pistons have a young squad. They have a bunch of bigs, so I'm not exactly sure what they're doing there, why they're playing with a bunch of 7 foot guys. But Cade should have a breakout year. Duran's there. Bagley's looked good. Wiseman's there. They could have a good squad, but they're still young, and I don't think they're going to be able to win games. And after that, I love the Pacers this year. They still have Miles Turner, still have Buddy. Tyrese is a dog. They were actually a playoff team until Tyrese missed time last year, and then they
Yeah.
kind of fell off after that. And then out of the draft, they got Jarris Walker, and that guy's an absolute stud. Phenomenal defender. I could see him being in the Defensive Player of the Year race already this year in his rookie season. Um,
So you think he
he'll
gets
be.
shoved directly into the starting lineup?
I think Walker's going to be starting, yeah, and I think it'll be next to Turner probably. And then you still have Benedict Mathurin, who put up I think 18 to
Yes.
20 last year.
That's
He's
who
a
I always
bucket.
forget. That dude is a stud. And then, yeah,
Yeah,
obviously Miles Turner is as athletic as a big as you can get. So,
yeah. And Turner gets buckets. Benedict gets buckets. Tyrese to Obi Toppin is going to be one of the best shows in the
yeah,
NBA this year, and I'm excited for all the lobs that we get to see. Hallie's probably going for 12, 13 assists in the title this year.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, I think the Pacers. I think they'll probably be between the 6 and the 9 seed, probably ending up in the play-in. But I do think they come out of it with a 8 or 9, probably the 8 seed, because I do think I see them in the playoff picture this year. That should be a fun team to be looking out for. Cavs, I think, are going to be about what they were last year. Obviously, Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. They added Struess. It goes on from there. They have a great team. I think they're not going to be good enough. And knowing that this is Donovan's last year without contract value, I think the Cavs might try and hold on and make a run in the playoffs. But also, depending on how the season goes, they might notice that they're not good enough to win it all and try and get some value out of Donovan before the trade deadline. So, a team that I could see possibly interested going after him. The Knicks obviously have talked about wanting to get him. The Lakers are going to need a young face of the franchise to get going once LeBron's gone. I also think someone's got to go join the Magic for all the pieces that they have down there. You can get some young talent, and then pair up someone like Donovan Mitchell next to Paolo would be a fun combo as well. So they'll have a good year. I think they'll surpass probably 50 wins. But then the Bucks are the head of the division, uh, one of the top 2, 3 teams at least in the East, and I think Giannis, Chris, Dame is too much for the rest of that division.
yeah, absolutely. I'm in full agreement there. Let's kind of transition over to the Western Conference because the West is absolutely stacked.
Mm-hmm.
First division, sorry, is the Grizzlies, Pelicans, Mavericks, Rockets, and Spurs. Obviously, Rockets and Spurs have been the two kind of shaky teams at the bottom. Um, didn't really get too much. Obviously, the Rockets got Dylan Brooks and Fred. I think they'll end up doing better than the Spurs, but that is just a division I think they're going to struggle in. So, talk a little bit about that one for us.
Yeah, I all the hypes around Victor Wembanyama is going to be the next best player in the world, and for years to come, the franchise face, maybe face of the league is what they're saying. I think he's a phenomenal talent. I think he has the ability to be great. I don't personally love him. I don't really love big, thin guys because I feel like they're very injury prone. He's
Yeah,
looked great. So as long as he could stay healthy, they might be okay. And I think he's good. I think Vassell's good. Obviously, Keldon Johnson, but I don't think they're a team that wins a lot of basketball games.
yeah,
So I mean, under 20 wins, I could definitely see as a shot. I think at best they win maybe 30, 35. I don't think I just don't like the team. The Rockets, I do think, are a little bit better this year. I think they also don't know what direction they're going. Uh, Everything going on with Kevin Porter Jr., I think he's kind of going to be gone. Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun is one of my favorite players in the league right now. If you watch him play, he is Jokic, but just doesn't have the ball as much. He is a phenomenal player. And then obviously Freddie's a beast. Adding Dylan Brooks is great defense. But again, with how tough the West is, I don't think the Rockets make too much noise.
yeah.
30 wins, I think, would be a good year for them if they can get there. I don't really think they will. And then after that, this might be one of my boldest takes. I'm not sure how bold it is considering they missed last year. I think the Mavs are missing the playoffs this year. Um, they don't have any defense, and they couldn't win games with Kyrie last year after they added him. And then they all they really did was add Grant Williams. Um,
And Rashawn Holmes.
yeah, Rashawn Holmes, who didn't play for the Kings hardly at all last year.
Yeah,
So I mean, Luka's obviously phenomenal. Kyrie's sensational. I mean, one of the most fun players to watch in the league. Grant Williams is solid. Maxi Kleber's my guy in a bucket. Yeah, Rashawn, Dwight Powell's still there. they don't have enough, I don't think, to get through. So I have them missing the playoffs. I don't even think they'll make the play in, to be honest. They could. I wouldn't be necessarily surprised, but I don't think they'll make the play in even. And then after that, I have one of my favorite teams in the league when healthy, if Zion can play, the Pelicans.
Yeah.
They start out as the one seed each of the last few seasons. Trey Murphy's a dog. Herb Jones is a dog. You still got CJ McCollum. You got Brandon Ingram. You got Valanciunas, who's a bucket. He can score anywhere, rebound well. Jose Alvarado is obviously a feisty little guy. I was really hoping that they made a move for Chris Paul, bring him
Yeah.
home to New Orleans. I thought that would have been a perfect fit to at least kind of keep them moving, even if Zion were down, because I kind of at this point just expect it, even though I hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Um, and I think they could easily win that division. There's real good value there. It's about 5-1. Um, so that's good value if they can stay healthy as well. But then I have the Grizzlies, who have shown each of the last few years that they're just well coached under Taylor Jenkins. They have great defense between Bane and Jaron, and now they have Marcus Smart there, and they have Derrick Rose is now there as well, coming off the
Yep.
bench. So the Grizz are going to be a fun team to watch again. Um, Ja looked phenomenal last year, obviously, other than getting suspended a bunch. So hopefully he gets that figured out. But the Grizzlies should take that division.
Yeah, I think that as long as Jaw has a pretty clear year off the court, then they'll have a pretty good season.
Yeah, and then Aquaman just sitting there in the paint. My boy Steven Adams
Yeah,
is a
that
dog.
dude's
So
just a rebounding machine. So yeah, I think that team's going to be able to put it together again, and I think that they'll again struggle in the playoffs, but yeah, they're going to be a solid team. Next division: Nuggets, Thunder, Timberwolves, Jazz, and Blazers.
mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, Nuggets won it. They're probably going to be one of the favorites going into the year, just because they have all those studs they're getting back. Plus, they had a few additions that were really good as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thunder obviously are on the up and up, super young team. They're getting Chet in this year. They're gonna, we'll see how they do, but they're definitely going to be a team that's on the cusp of making the playoffs. And then you have the Jazz and the Blazers, two teams that are, kind of trying to figure out where they're going. But talk a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
about what you think about that division.
I love the division. Being a Thunder fan, it's fun. I think they
Mm-hmm.
have a good team, and I can't see them getting any worse than they were last year, which was 40 wins. Having Chet, adding Case and Wallace out of the draft, Keontae Johnson traded for Oladipo. The problem is they have 21 on the roster, so they're going to have to cut six out. So I can't tell you what six they're going to cut, what moves they're going to make, and then still having four first rounders next year, for the following year. I expect them to make a big move this year. And after Dame got added to the Bucks, I'm not thinking it's going to be Giannis necessarily anymore, but I could see the Thunder going out and making a trade for Embiid at the deadline this year, depending on how those two teams look. Obviously, if the Thunder are already out of the playoff race, like Hunt, I don't think they'll do it. Um, but it's something I am interested to see. Is Joel's probably going to be on the move, and he's a good fit with the Thunder team. Um, I know Carl Anthony Towns is probably going to be on the move at some point, maybe Pascal Siakam as well. Love my Thunder, but I don't think they'll win the division. The Nuggets are going to be phenomenal again.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll win it all this year just because I think they lost some of the depth that it takes to win it all. I do think they'll probably make the Western Conference Finals and lose there. They don't lose at home, so they're just, I think, a lock for the one seed. Timberwolves could be fun. Anthony Edwards is a beast. Mike Conley's still there. Um, I don't know how two bigs work. Rudy and Cat, just it doesn't make sense. I kind of think they're confused about what to do because I think they understand they should move on already, even after one season, and swallow their 5 first round costs that it was.
Yeah, it
Uh,
feels like they've been kind of just hanging on the past like 4 or 5 seasons where they have all these star players, but they have no team chemistry, and
mhm.
they're just trying to hang on to all the pieces and try and somehow weave it together, but they just can't do it.
Yeah, so I think they'll be sitting around the 10 seed, probably play in type of team, and I don't think they'll be able to figure it out, but you never know. The Blazers have all those young pieces we were talking about a little while ago. I think they're going to suck, just because they're not going to have an identity of who they are. It's just a
Hmm.
bunch of guys that all want to go score 20.
Yeah.
Um, So I think they're going to care about individual stats more than winning for now.
If you do like player props, though, I do think Anthony Simons this is his year where he's going to put up at least 22, 23 a game. So if you can get that, I'm sure that's probably out there on some of the books. I would go and get that
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, he's a beast. JG's a beast. Scoot's a dog. I
Yeah.
mean, now they got Aiton and Rob Williams, and then they drafted
Shaden
Chris Murray.
Shaden Sharp's over there too, right?
Shaden Sharp's a beast, and then obviously they got Keegan's brother Chris out of the draft as
Yep.
well. So Chris
So
should
they
be
have a
pretty
lot
good.
of young talent over there for sure.
Yeah, I could see 6 or 7 players getting 12 to 15 points plus a game. Probably 4 of them over 20. So it'll be an
Yeah.
interesting team. I just don't think they'll win. And then the only other team in that division is the Jazz, which I have missing the playoffs and the play-in. But if there was a team that was going to make a run and be very good this year, surprisingly, I think it's the Jazz. They're sneaky good. They were sneaky good last year.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, Walker Kessler, Defensive Player of the Year. Laurie Markkinen, Most Improved Player. They added John Collins from the Hawks, who's a beast.
Yeah.
They added Keontae George out of the draft. O'Shea Abaji is already good. I was kind of hoping as well that they were going to get Scoot because I think that'd be a good pairing is have that explosive guy to go with Laurie and Walker.
Yeah.
They don't. And so I'm interested to see how they do. They had a lot of good draft pieces this year, and they already had a solid team last year that just missed the playoffs. I have them just barely missing the playoffs again, but if someone's going to make a run and have a chance to knock someone out of the playoffs, I think the Jazz is the team to do it. But yeah, that's what I got for that division.
Yeah, I think if you're an 8, 9, 10 seed, you got to be careful of the Jazz because they're a team that can just kind of waltz right into there and steal a
Mm-hmm.
spot. Obviously, last division is the Pacific: Suns, Clippers, Lakers, Warriors, and the Kings. What an absolutely loaded division again.
Yep.
I don't really have much to say other than all five of these teams basically are the same team or got better. And yeah, I mean, I don't even know where I would begin with this division, so I'm just gonna let you take it away.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how good the division is. All 5 teams look obviously playoff caliber teams. The Suns are, I think, third favorites to win it all. The Warriors are second to come out the West. And then you still got the Lakers, Clippers, Kings. The Kings were the 3 seed that won the division last year.
Yeah,
They're actually they're 9-1 to win it this year. So if you're a Kings fan and want to root for them to do it again, 9-1. They already won it last year. That's phenomenal. Um, I looked up the
and took
odds,
the
and it's
Warriors to 7 too. Took the Warriors to 7.
yeah,
Obviously, Steph drops 50. What are you gonna do? Like Steph's not gonna miss.
yeah,
Steph's not gonna miss. But I mean, taking them to 7, winning at least one in Golden State. That was pretty impressive for this young Kings team. So if they can take it a step forward and win the first playoff series, maybe get to that second series and put up a fight, I think that team going forward, a couple years, they're going to be in that Western Conference championship race to trying to get to that title.
yeah. And I think it's a very fun bet that I'm going to be taking. The odds for all 5 of these teams to make the playoffs is 31-1.
Oh wow.
So you put $100 and you could turn it into 3 grand if they all make the playoffs. Obviously,
I mean, that
5
just
teams from
feels, yeah, that feels very possible with those 5 teams and the way they're looking. So,
yeah. So
yeah,
it's like that means you're expecting Jazz, T Wolves, Thunder. Only one of those teams max can make it, with the Nuggets obviously making it. And then that means you can only have 1 or 2 of the Grizz, Pelicans, Mavericks making it as well. Like I said, I don't think the Mavericks are going to be good enough. So 31-1 for all 5 of those teams. Love the Kings. Golden State, I don't like, but they're great. Lakers are going to be good. Clippers, I think, are going to be the worst team in the division. Record wise, I have them better than that, assuming that they actually play a lot of games this year between PG, Kawhi. It'll be interesting what happens with James Harden coming over because if they get him, I think they lose Norman Powell, who's a good piece off the bench for them. And then the Suns with Book, Beal, KD.
yeah, they're stacked.
Yeah, that team's insane. So that's a fun division to look out for. I have the Suns
Yeah,
winning it. I just don't think they'll lose much at home. Their offense is too good. They did add depth, but I don't think it's going to be by a lot. I think the Clippers, Lakers are going to be sitting right there around 50 wins also. The Warriors, Kings, I have at 46. So, I mean, I have all of them making the playoffs in mind, with the worst team in the division at 46 wins and the best at 53. So, it's going to
Right
be a fun
on.
one for sure.
Yeah, and I think if anything ruins that 31-1 on all five making the playoffs, it's either going to be injuries on the Clippers or the Kings losing a lot of early games in the season, because that seemed to have been like kind of their downfall. The last few seasons is they'll lose like the first 3 or 4 games, then they have to win 2 or 3 in a row to be able to kind of bounce back. So as long
Mm-hmm.
as the Kings can kind of open up hot, I think that they have a very good shot of making the playoffs too, and that 31-1
Mm-hmm.
is a real possibility for sure.
Yep,
Um,
definitely.
but yeah, let's transition over to kind of our playoff expectations and what you expect to see going forward. You've obviously talked about which teams you think are going to make the playoffs, but the
Mm-hmm.
first set of games that would happen would be the Nuggets and the Kings. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, I think the Nuggets are too good, and that's the problem I have is because I want to be rooting for the Kings coming from Sacramento. I haven't gone to a bunch of the games last year. The Nuggets are the champs, and they, I believe, are going to be the 1 seed, so they'll have home court, and they don't lose at home. So I think they go up too early. Kings steal one of the two at home, and then the Nuggets close them out in five. I don't think there's too much to go there.
Yeah, I think the only thing that could sway me the other way is depending on how good the Kings are depth wise, because their bench was pretty good last season and kept them in a lot of games and also brought them back into some of the games. So if they can
Mhm.
kind of get some of that depth from their bench, I could see them potentially giving the Nuggets a run. But I do think the Nuggets are going to have a little bit too much for them to handle.
Yeah,
The
agreed.
next games would be the Clippers and the Lakers. Obviously, it's a LA
Yeah.
banger. But yeah, Lakers looked really strong last year. They had a couple good additions this year. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, I saw AD and LeBron take out Russ and Harden with the Rockets, and assuming Harden ends up with the Clippers like he's asking for, I think LeBron and AD take him out again as Clippers this time. AD, LeBron, Reeves, D'Lo. The team's good. They added a lot of good pieces: Christian Wood, Cam Reddish, Gabe Vincent. Their depth is insane. Their team's good. It's the Lakers. It's championship 24. Kobe was a Laker, so
Kobe
I got the
year?
Lakers. Yeah, I got the Lakers going all the way. Um, so I think Lakers take care of the Clippers. Clippers have a good team. So assuming Kawhi's back healthy, if they still have Paul George or Harden, Russ, Norman Powell, it's going to be a fun team. But I think the Lakers knock them out.
Yeah, that'll be a fun series though. I look forward to that one if that does end up happening. Suns and Pelicans next. Obviously, Suns are stacked. Pelicans, if they can get Zion playing, then they have a real possibility to be a dangerous team. So, what do you think
Mm-hmm.
in that series?
Uh, just because of the star power alone, I took the Suns. Um, I mean, you got Book, Beal, KD. That means your third best defenders guarding Beal, who's a 30 point per game scorer. Yuta Watanabe. Obviously, we talk about Nurkic being there now as a paint presence for them, grabbing rebounds. I think it's going to be a phenomenal Suns team that's going to try and make a run at it. You can never count out KD, especially when he's got help. Book was there. He's the actually last piece from that championship run team from a couple years ago. So I think the Suns will knock out the Pelicans, but I'm going to be rooting for the Pelicans all year. I think they're one of the most fun teams to watch, and I'd love to see them. I'd love to see them win it all, to be honest. But
Yeah, for
we'll
sure. And
see how it goes.
that'd be another one of those series that I'm like, oh crap, I gotta watch that because you're gonna have Brandon Ingram guarding KD, and then you're gonna have CJ McCollum guarding Devin Booker, and you're probably gonna have or Bradley Beal, and then whoever's not, you're gonna have guarding the other, and that's I mean those
Yeah,
are all good matchups.
one of the Suns
So
guys will be open, and then one of Zion will be
yeah,
dominating. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So and then Grizzlies Warriors will be the last two for the West.
Yep. That's the series that we just keep on seeing and we can't get out
Yeah,
of. Is the Warriors are going to go in as the seven and beat the two Grizzlies year and year and year again. I don't think anything changes this year. Grizzlies are going to go in, and the Warriors are going to win 4-2, maybe 4-1. I
yeah.
think the Grizzlies got a little better with the depth of adding Derrick Rose, adding Marcus Smart. I think it's a big piece for them. Um, but I don't think it's going to matter because you got the Dubs as the champs and they got the DNA.
Yeah,
So I got the Grizz taking them down there.
you got the Grizz taking down the Warriors.
Oh, sorry, I got the Warriors taking them down
Oh,
because
okay, you
they have
got the
the
Warriors. Yeah, yeah,
championship DNA.
yeah. I was just gonna say, I do think the Grizz have a real shot this year because I think that Derrick Rose is going to be a good mentor to Jaw. I think that he's going to be exactly what they need. But I do think, yeah, that the Warriors, with having Chris Paul and Steph Curry, they're going to be able to figure out a way to defend against Jaw, whether they have to put Clay on him or whatever. They'll do it, and I do think that the Warriors will end up taking that one. So I do like that pick. Transitioning to the East, Bucks and the Pacers would be in round one. That'd be
Yep.
crazy series. Um, Obviously, we like the Bucks, but talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean that's the division that we were talking about is those two teams playing. So I think it would be very fun. The Bucks, I don't think would really have much of a problem with them. Indiana, I could see getting one at home, but again, Bucks, I have think win that one 4-1. Pacers, I do think have a very fun young team. Miles Turner's a great defender. Like I said, I think Jarris Walker is going to be a great defender. Benedict can get buckets. Tyrese can get buckets and drop dots. Buddy can get buckets. Miles Turner can get buckets. So it is a very fun team. But you got Dame time, you got Giannis, you got Chris, you got Bobby Portis. I mean, Brooke Lopez is still there. Should have been defensive player of the year last year. They're not going to lose.
No, they're stacked. I think they're just so stacked. Second series would be Cavs and Knicks.
Yep.
That would be a crazy fun series for the East. I
Yeah,
don't
we
even
just
know
had
where
it
to
last
go.
year. So
Yeah,
we just
run
had
it
it
back.
last year. I like the Knicks. Like I said, coming down to the trade deadline, I think Donovan Mitchell might or might not be on the move. I think the Knicks might or might not try and get a Pascal or Joel Embiid if they can. So I do think the Knicks are going to be even better this year. They're well coached by Thibodeau, and I think the Knicks would beat the Cavs in that series.
Yeah, right on. And then 76ers Magic.
Yep, like I said, Magic, man, I got them. I got them winning the division. I got them making it. Um, I have the Sixers winning the series just based off the team they have now, which doesn't necessarily include Harden. I was just thinking Maxi, Tobias, Joel is going to be
Yeah,
enough to get it done. The Magic are too young. But if Joel is gone, Magic could possibly have a chance at winning that one, which would just make it, I think, easier for the Celtics, who I have beating the Heat in that last series. I think they get revenge for last year. The Celtics obviously got Drew Holiday, who's got the championship DNA, phenomenal defender, great. He can pass the ball like no one. He can shoot the ball well, and then you still got Jason Tatum. Jalen Brown's a beast, and Porzingis is going to be an interesting fit, I think, for them this year. But I think the Celtics take down the Heat, who lost a couple crucial pieces.
yeah. So that leads to the second round. Then that would lead the Nuggets to playing the Lakers. Who do you think would take that series?
Yeah, the Lakers had them in the bubble. Nuggets swept them last year. The Lakers team was still getting going. They were trying to figure out how to play together. I think it was only 25 games they had together. Now they had the whole offseason. They're going to have this whole season. And the Nuggets lost Bruce Brown. Just a little bit of the depth that they had that was really crucial. So I do think the Lakers end up coming back and they beat them this year. I do think it's going to be tough. Nuggets don't usually lose at home. Uh, the Lakers in the playoffs should win at home as well. So I think it'll be a great series, probably one of the best, especially as a rematch. But I got the Lakers winning that one just because of their depth.
Yeah, right on. I think that's a solid pick. The Lakers this season, I think AD is going to be on a MVP level season this season because as long as he stays injury free, he's going to be one of the best big guys in the league in terms of versatility. I just think that
Mm-hmm.
with him playing alongside LeBron, LeBron's going to be getting so much of the attention that AD is just going to be able to have a crazy MVP level season.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Suns then against the Warriors. I
Yeah.
mean, those two teams, holy moly, that's a lot of stars on one court. Um,
KD going against
yeah,
Steph, Clay, Dre.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
yeah, I have the Suns winning that one. I don't think the Warriors are good enough. Like I love Wiggins, he's a great defender. I love Draymond, he's a great defender. Obviously, Steph and Clay. I don't see the fit with Chris Paul, so maybe that changes throughout the year if I can watch it happen. I don't think that's what they need. I think they need to make a move to go get Carl Anthony Towns or even maybe Rudy Gobert. I think would be kind of what they need. Looney's obviously a great fit. He's got 4 championships for a reason. But the Suns are just going to overpower him. You got 3 guys that can score 30 or 40 really any given
Yeah,
night, and I don't think the Warriors should be able to beat that.
yeah. I think that the Warriors are going to have trouble with with just the sheer amount of scoring ability that the Suns have. And then on top of that, the Suns, I think that they're going to struggle defensively against the Warriors, but I don't think that's going to matter in the grand scheme of things because I think that their home court advantage, they'll be able to get 2 early games and then be able to take one in the Bay Area. So I think that will probably end up being like a 4-2 series in favor of the Suns as well. Also, then that leads us to the East, Bucks and Knicks. Obviously, it feels like the Bucks would be a heavy favorite there. With Giannis having won that championship, I am leaning on them to beat the Knicks for sure with the experience they have.
Yep. If the Knicks pull off Joel Embiid somehow before going into the playoffs, I think that would be a crazy series because I could see the Knicks making a run all the way to the finals. As of now, they don't have him, so I'm going to stick with the Bucks. With Dame, Chris, Giannis, championship DNA. I don't think they'd have much of a problem with the Knicks as they're currently rostered.
Yep, and then that leaves the 76ers and the Celtics to face off as the final two teams. What do you think of that one?
Yep. I think the Celtics would beat them fairly easily. The Sixers, like I said, I don't think have much going for them this year, trying to figure out who's going to be there, who's not, what trade value they can get, what direction they're going to go, if they're going to stick with the process or if they're going to move on. Tobias is probably in his last year there. Harden might be, Joel might be. And they didn't pay Maxey yet. So, I mean, I would expect they pay him eventually and try and get some pieces to make a team good around him.
Yeah, I see that to be the series where Maxey eventually kind of falls off. Like I feel like that is going to be the series where the defense of the Celtics is just going to be able to clamp on Maxey, and then they're not going to have any answers for that, and they're going to be putting up 85, 90 points a game. And that's just Celtics are going to be putting up 110, 105, and it's just not going to be nearly enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, that moves us into the Western and Eastern Conference Finals, which means we have the Lakers against the Suns in the Western Conference Finals. What do you think about that?
So we missed it again last year. Everyone's waiting 5 years to see LeBron versus KD. So this is where we get it. It's the Western Conference, 2024. I mean, both teams have the depth, but I think Lakers have the defense. And like I said, I think depth and defense wins you the championship these days. LeBron versus KD, you can't stop either of them.
No.
Book versus AD, you can't really stop either of them. And then you basically just have Beal and Nurkic versus the rest of the Lakers squad. I think the Lakers, it's 2024, man. It's the Lakers. It's Kobe year. It's Lakers. I got Lakers all the way. I think it would be a 4-3 series either way. But I think the Lakers would pull it off. AD would have to be, I think, the MVP of the series to make sure that happens. Because I think LeBron's going to be too old. He's 38 or about to be 38. He will be by that time. But yeah, I mean, Austin Reeves should have a great year. D'Lo should be good. Cam Reddish is a bucket. Gabe Vincent obviously has gotten to a couple championships with the Heat. And I think the Lakers would just be too much for them in the end.
Yeah, I think the Lakers are just star-studded this season, and if they can put it all together, I feel like this could be like a walking out or running out party for LeBron. Like if he goes and wins a championship, why not just retire? I mean, yeah, you could win another one next year, and if he still is healthy, like he could just keep playing. But I don't know, why not just go out on a championship? Like that feels like such a suitable way for him to go out, and if he's going to be 39, he's going to understand that like in 2-3 years, like you're gonna have these kids that are 21 years old, and Wembanyama's size at 7'5", like dunking all over you. Like he's not gonna want to be playing against those kids, So I think that would be pretty suiting for the Lakers to finally go out on a championship and send LeBron off into the sunset. But that does leave the Eastern Conference Championship, which is the Bucks and the Celtics. That'll be a banger of a series. I expect that one to go all 7 games. But talk about what you think on that one.
Yep, all 7 games. And I mean, I said it earlier. I think Dame was the move if you want to get views for the Bucks, and I think it's going to be a great move. They'll still probably be a 1 or 2 seed in the East, but come playoff time, give me Drew Holiday.
Right on.
You got Tatum and Giannis, like whatever. You got Jaylen Brown and Chris, whatever. And then you got Porzingis and Bobby / Brooke. But it's like if you're asking me if I want Dame or Drew come playoff time, I'm taking Drew. Drew's won a championship. Drew plays defense. The Celtics already have good defense. The Bucks have good defense, but it would also be a return to Milwaukee. Drew just said he wanted to stay in Milwaukee the rest of his career. Got traded the next day, so I think it
Yeah.
goes Game 7. Celtics go into Milwaukee, and just as part of the script to get the Lakers Celtics finals for 2024,
Yeah.
Celtics are gonna win this one, and I think it's gonna be Drew Holiday making a statement. You should have kept me.
Yep, I agree with that. I think that this is going to be the Celtics' chance to really finally get to the championship, and they're going to be able to do it this year. But that does leave the Lakers and the Celtics, which is pretty much the most scripted thing you could possibly think. Go us! But hey,
Yeah,
you know what? Like with LeBron and AD and that team looking so solid, and then the Celtics getting all the additions that they did, I just feel like that it feels right. So yeah, Lakers
yeah.
Celtics. Obviously, I'm thinking Lakers win right off. LeBron will ride off into the sunset, or maybe come back for one more year. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think he's got to play with his son, but I think he does still want to get one more ring. And so that's why I think this is the year. It's completely scripted. Scripted or not, I think this is how it's going to go down. Kobe was number 24. It's season 2024. Kobe got his fifth ring against the Celtics. LeBron's going to get his fifth ring against the Celtics,
Wow.
and then he can call it. Lakers are going to beat the Celtics. I think it'll be probably 6 game series. The Celtics obviously are good. I think the Lakers are too good for them. And yeah, then LeBron he'll have his fifth. He'll maybe get more of the sway in the GOAT conversation, which I'm not going to get into. But Kobe's fifth was over the Celtics. LeBron's fifth is going to be over the Celtics in year 2024. You heard it here first. I got the script. I'll call Silver after this and talk to him. But that's what we got. Yeah, I mean, other than that, we got some award plays. I don't know what you guys think about that. Let me know in the comments. Text me, whatever it is when you're listening. I did want to say there's a couple teams that I'm looking forward to seeing this year. I know I already touched on the Jazz. Pelicans, if healthy, should be phenomenal. Pacers, I think, are going to be a fun young team. The Knicks, if they can make a move for a big, Mitchell Robinson's not the answer there. And
You
then the
love
Kings,
that Magic
obviously,
team. You love that
I
Magic
love
team.
I love the Magic team. I think that's a great play, taking them to win that division. I had it 8-1 when I grabbed it. I think it's still 7.5, 8, depending on what book you use. Kings are 9-1 to win their division. They just won it last year, so if you like that, go for it. I know you can bet over and unders on wins. So a few teams I like to have over 50 is going to be the Nugs, the Grizz, the Suns, and then in the other side you got Bucks, Cavs, probably Sixers and Celtics. Maybe lay off the Sixers because the team I don't know how they're going to change throughout the year. And then teams with under 30 wins I think are pretty much locks. Blazers, the Wizards are going to suck. Pistons might be good-ish, but I think under 30 wins still. Hornets, I think, are still going to suck. The Bulls, I think, are going to completely fall off. And then, barring trades, I could see if Pascal's gone or Gary Trent or something. I think the Raptors could also be under, and the Spurs as well. So those are a lot of the plays for over under 50 and 30 wins that I'm going to be taking. You look into them, kind of take what you like, and if you don't love it, don't touch it.
Yeah, but then
Um,
talk about Rookie of
yeah,
the Year, MVP,
yeah.
like some of those that you really like.
Yeah, so there's 6 categories that we got for awards, and it's obviously MVP, Coach of the Year, Most Improved, Six Man, Defensive Player, Rookie of the Year. So MVP, I think it's always going to go to one of the top ranks in both the Eastern and Western Conference. So whether it's Giannis or Dame or Tatum, I think for the East, you're going to have the Celtics and the Bucks at the top. I think it'll be one of those. Dame, I think, is going to get looked at more now that he's going to be on a winning team, which is unusual for him. Giannis obviously does it on both ends of the floor. Tatum does it on both ends of the floor. Celtics will be good. The other side, top three is probably going to be Nuggets, Suns, Grizz, and so just the leaders of each of those teams. I think it's going to be Joker. Jaw obviously had a lot of attention before the suspensions, and then Book is who I have just because he's the face of the franchise for the Suns, not KD, even though KD is
Hmm.
probably the better player. Uh, so Giannis, Tatum, Job, Joker, Book, Dame, those are the top 6 I'm seeing. I think AD as well could have a phenomenal season, but based off of rankings, I think being 1 through 3 in the East and West is going to matter more than how well of a season that you have. Um, and then let's see, what do I want to go next? I'll go defensive player of the year. I do think Giannis, I think is going to be my MVP this year. Just because he had a couple years off. They gave it to Joel, they gave it to Joker. And it's Giannis's turn. He really could have won it again last year. I think
Yeah.
I probably would have given it to Joker anyway, let
Hmm.
him three-peat. But Giannis arguably could have won it. Again, he's 30, 12, and 5 with one of the best, if not the best defender in the league.
And the
He
most
does it all.
consistent.
Most consistent, and he always does it, smiling, and he's on the best team in the Eastern Conference. So defense player of the year, honestly, could go to Giannis. Walker Kessler was phenomenal for the Jazz last year in his rookie season, so I could see him taking a step up and being in that conversation. Got the defending champ, Jaren Jackson, is going to be right there with the Grizzlies obviously being good again this year. Anthony Davis is going to be a force to be reckoned with on the Lakers, so I think he'll be there as well. And then you could obviously throw in some of the smaller guards that don't win it much, but Drew Holiday is always good. Mikal Bridges is good. Lukas Dort's good. So we'll interested to see how those go. And then I'll go sixth man next. Malik Monk for the Kings, phenomenal last year. I think he could do it again. Norman Powell as well for the Clippers. I think he might get traded if Harden goes there. So maybe look to see that with the Sixers or something if he does get traded. Chris Paul's coming off the bench for the Warriors. We'll see how that goes because obviously he's a 10 assist guy his whole career, and he'll probably do it again even off the bench. Emmanuel Quickly almost won it last year.
Hmm. I was going
Did
to
he
say
win it last
quickly.
year? I don't.
I
Yeah,
don't think.
Emmanuel Quickly's. Yeah, he's great for the Knicks, and I think that's what they missed in the playoffs was he was out, and I think that's what cost him that series. And then Bobby Portis for the Bucks is always good. He's 13-10, consistent, always there. Everyone loves him.
Yeah.
So those are kind of my six-man expectations. Rookie of the year. Most people are probably just thinking Wemby and Scoot. Chet Holmgren is in his rookie year because he missed all of last year. So look out for that with the Thunder. All the hype's obviously around Wembanyama. He's a clear cut favorite right now. I personally love Scoot.
I love
Uh,
Scoot too. I was going
I
to
love
say, man,
Scoot.
I love
Yeah,
Scoot.
I love Scoot. He's so good,
Yeah.
and he does it all. I mean, I don't think he's going to be shooting great this year. He reminds me of young Russ, and Russ is my guy. So 40% shooting probably his first year, but the volume should be there with a bunch of other guys that aren't stars around him.
Hmm.
He'll probably be a 25-5 or 18-5 kind of guy. So I look to see him up there. I want him to win it, so I'm hoping for that. Chet and Wemby obviously are going to be right there. And then I talked about Jarris Walker with the Pacers. I think his defense is phenomenal. He might be in that defensive player of the year top 10. And just that alone, I think, puts him in the conversation for rookie of the year. And then my last one is Trace Jackson Davis, who came from Indiana. He's now with the Warriors, and the Warriors kind of got rid of Poole and now have Chris Paul, but Chris Paul doesn't really get buckets much anymore in this day and age. So between Kuminga and him, I think he's going to have a big impact with the Warriors team this year. So I do look for Trace Jackson Davis to have a solid season. And then what do we got left? Most improved.
Yeah. Before
Um,
you go on to that, I do want to say I think that the Kings got Colby Jones, right? Was his name? And I can't remember. Was it Colby Jones? Whoever it was, he's been playing extremely well in the preseason. So look out for him to have a good, solid rookie season as well, because he was coming off the bench and he looked like he could have an immediate impact off the bench with the Kings' second team. Um,
I think the only guy that they drafted was Olivier
well, they
something
traded him
from
though
Marquette.
immediately, and
Yeah, I was
then
gonna say he was traded to the Mavs, so I don't think they actually drafted
I'm looking
anybody.
it up real quick. Yep, Colby Jones. They did get Colby Jones. But yeah,
He's
he's looked really good in his first few games with the Kings. So I'm looking for him to have a solid season.
okay. Right on.
He went to Xavier.
Okay. Was he
Um,
drafted or undrafted? Because I don't remember hearing that draft.
he was round 2, pick 34.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that he was involved in the trade with the Mavs, and yeah, I'm looking for him to have a solid season because he looked really good for the Kings off the bench in the preseason. So yeah,
Okay.
and then
Nice.
yeah, your
Colby
last
Jones.
one. Go ahead and talk about most improved,
Yeah,
right?
most improved. So just because of the volume he's going to get, Jordan Poole should go for 30 a game. The Wizards suck. If he's not shooting it, it's going to be Kuzma. If it's not Kuzma, I don't know who it's going to be. So he can go for 30, I think, pretty easily. with the volume of shots he's going to get. Mikal Bridges obviously was going for 30 a game after the trade to the Nets. I think he's going to keep pace for around 27 points per game this year. So it's hard not to put him at most improved just for that. I do think Paolo's going to take a big step, which is going to help that Magic team hopefully win the division for us. Kate Cunningham being back, being healthy. If the Pistons can win some games as well, I do think he's going to take a step in the right direction. He should be a 25-5-5 guy. Keegan Murray, I look for him to have a great season. We talked about that a bit earlier. He's just going to keep getting better and better, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that impacts the Kings and their chances to win that division and to make it out west. Obi Toppin and Benedict Mathurin are my other two. I think it kind of depends on how the Pacers do and who ends up getting all the touches. But Benedict was a stud off the bench last year. I think he has a chance to put up 25 a game if they really get him the ball. But Obi Toppin as well. He didn't do as much last year when he was with the Knicks. And so just based off of numbers alone, I think he has the chance to have the biggest improvement because I think he can be like a 17-8 guy for that team. And he's just an exciting player to watch with Halliburton tossing him the ball. And then that leaves me just with Coach of the Year, which I think Taylor Jenkins is probably going to end up winning it with the Grizzlies this year.
Yep.
Staying top two in the West with the same team for the most part. Obviously, they made a couple additions with Marcus Smart, Derrick Rose. But Taylor Jenkins, I think, is going to get some credit after Mike Brown got it last year. And then year before that, I think it was the Celtics coach. I don't remember. But then I also love the Magic. So Jamal Mosley, I think, has a chance to do it. If they can win the division, make the playoffs, I think that would be great. Malone, obviously, for the Nuggets, I think they'll be the one in the West. And if they can stay the one in the West with how good it is, Malone's got to be in consideration for it. Mark Dagnall, if the Thunder play well, if they make the playoffs, you can't not have him in the conversation. I believe he's the favorite right now. The West is so deep, I don't even have the Thunder making the playoffs as much as I want them to, so I don't think he will win it. And then the last one's Rick Carlisle. We talked about the Pacers. I love the Pacers if they make the playoffs. They started hot last year. If they can do that and Halliburton stays healthy, I do think they have a chance to make the 5 or 6 seed, in which case you have to put him in the conversation for it as well. So, Giannis, I think, will probably end up being MVP. Taylor Jenkins, Coach of the Year. I'm probably going to pick Obi Toppin as my player for most improved. Okay. Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go with Anthony Davis this year for Defensive Player of the Year. Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with Scoot. It'll probably be Wemby. I'm going to go with Scoot. And then sixth man, I'm going to take Emmanuel Quickley for the Knicks.
Right on. There we go. NBA picks. Solid. Love it. Looking forward to this season. So thank you guys for listening. If you could give us a like, subscribe, and comment. Let us know what you think of these picks and what you're expecting for the NBA season. We'd love to hear about it. But yeah, until next time, see you guys. Peace.
All right, see ya.